Hello, everyone. Welcome back to The Breakdown. I'm Sandra, Babu-Boateng.
Every mining company that is in Sierra Leone today is owned by a foreigner. If it's not the Chinese, it's the American, it's the British. Our electricity, Bumuna, is run by the British. And we still don't have light. I don't know why we celebrate independence, because we are not free. 52% of our population who are women, and if you now push 52% of your population in the kitchen, definitely it's like asking Muhammad Ali to do boxing with one hand. He will not succeed.
Now, let's be real, right? We don't hear nearly enough about Africa's first ladies, do we? And yet, being first lady is no small job. Around the world, we've seen first ladies use their platforms to champion powerful causes and push for real change. But when it comes to Africa, too often our first ladies stay silent on the issues that matter most. But not this one. Today, I want to introduce you to a woman who is breaking that mold wide open, Fatima Bio, the First Lady of Sierra Leone and wife of President Julius Maada Bio. And let me tell you, she is not your ordinary First Lady, okay? If you don't know her name yet, trust me, you will after today. Fatima Bio is using her voice loud and clear, speaking out on everything from child marriage and women's rights to why the UN needs a serious overhaul, and even calling out the West for holding Africa back. We're going to listen to a powerful fireside chat she gave at Harvard School of Public Health. And let me warn you, she does not hold back. And make sure you stay till the end, because we're going to be breaking down what she's saying. And then I want you to chime in and let me know what you think. But before we dive in, if you're already subscribed to our channel, thank you for rocking with us. If you haven't, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you don't miss these critical conversations. All right, so let's get into it.
Today, I'm delighted to have with me Miss Fatima Bio, the First Lady of Sierra Leone. Congratulations on completing your 6th year as First Lady. That's today, isn't it?
Almost.
Yeah, my anniversary is tomorrow, so welcome. Welcome, everyone. Before we get going, I'd like to say that we are speaking on behalf of ourselves and not on behalf of the school. It's a delight to be here, and I'd like to begin by acknowledging that we are 2 days away from International Women's Day. You've been particularly active in women's rights and girls' empowerment, so I'd like to invite you to speak to us first about those efforts and the need for them.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Jesse, for having me here, and thank you, Harvard, for hosting me in this prestigious school. Now, when we are talking about women empowerment, or we're talking about gender equality, I would like to refer back to the context as to what kind of equality are we looking for as women. Everything about women issue in the world today is a difficult issue. When you talk about rape, a lot of people think we are wasting our time, as if it's not a big deal. When you talk about teenage pregnancy, knowing how many young girls in places like Africa are dying through teenage pregnancy, it doesn't look like it's a big deal. And if you talk about early marriage, you know, people actually use early marriage to legalize rape in Africa, because as far as I'm concerned, when a child is, if a child is subjected to sexual intercourse by a man without their consent, is legalizing rape. So these are issues that I believe we need to address. But the most important part of all of this journey when it comes to our gender equality issues in Africa is education, lack of education. If we can have African women educated, enlightened, and empowered through education, most of these things that are happening to Africa and the women in Africa today will not be happening. It's not like, you know, what is happening in Africa is the worst thing than what is happening in Asia or what is happening in America here. The only thing is America have a system. America have a system. We know that if you rape somebody in America, there is a system that you go through and then you get justice. You cannot force a girl in America to be married off. There is nowhere somebody will give consent on behalf of a child in America to be married off. But then these are things that are happening in Africa, and I think we need to really address them. The silence about these issues in Africa has gone on for far too long, and I am bored of just being silenced. That ecosystem where a woman should not speak up, I don't belong in that league. I wanted to talk.
She does not belong in that league. How powerful is that? Are Africans, are we too silent on the issues that matter? Have we been too silent for too long?
When you look at what Sierra Leone have to offer, when it comes to our mineral resources, the kind of mineral resources we have in our country is enough to take care of everybody in that country. We should not have a single poor person in Sierra Leone.
So let's look at the wealth that she's talking about here, right? Sierra Leone is filthy rich in minerals. Filthy. It is a major producer of gem quality diamonds, being the 7th highest producing diamond nation in Africa. But listen to what she says.
But unfortunately, we are not given the free will to make decisions on our own mineral resources. There's always Big Brother who decides. And when you fight and say, no, we are not going to do this, they use the system to stop you. It's either they set you up with the opposition and they'll be supporting the opposition against you from the back, or they cause unnecessary chaos in your country so that you are not able to even govern your own people. They will do things to make you not to be functionable. And of course, any country that don't have peace cannot develop. You have to have peace before you talk about development. I'll give you a simple example about Sierra Leone. Every mining company that is in Sierra Leone today is owned by a foreigner.
That's mind-blowing, isn't it? I mean, foreign investment is good for any nation, but not in this way. No. How can a nation be productive when all its valuable resources are run and controlled by foreigners? If this isn't another form of colonization, then what is?
Every mining company. If it's not the Chinese, it's the American, it's the British. Our electricity, Babu-Boateng, is run by the British, and we still don't have light. We're looking for light, electricity. If you don't have electricity, how can you talk about education? How can you talk about health facility? How can you talk about improving the infrastructure of your country? We don't have electricity. Now, do we actually even have proper water, pipe-borne water, so that our kids will not be sick? We don't have those facilities. Why? With all the minerals we have, there is a cap you put. Before my husband became the president of Sierra Leone was benefiting, they said, what's the word? 0.000.1%. What is that? Basically, a company can take as much as $100 million out of the country in terms of minerals, and then they can just give the country $10,000. Now, what will $10,000 do for our health system? What is $10,000 do for our educational system?
Unbelievable. Now, you have to understand, this is not something that is happening only in Sierra Leone, right? This is pretty much across the continent. Let's keep watching.
And these are the things I believe that are stopping Africa from progressing. We don't have a say. The sense about us celebrating independence, I don't know why we celebrate independence, because we are not free.
Whew, what a statement. Why do we even celebrate Independence Day when we are not free? Whew, we are not free. Africa is not free. Should African nations stop celebrating Independence Day?
That is my own take. I'm not speaking also on behalf of the government of Sierra Leone, nor am I speaking on behalf of His Excellency the President. I am speaking as Fatima, as a citizen of a country who believes that things need to change.
I join you in that sense. I'm Jesse, I'm a person. Fatima is a person. We agree. I see you. I value your perspective, and I want to find a way forward. Right? Neither of us likes the status quo.
No.
We see women and girls being oppressed. We see patriarchy stronger than ever. And we see colonial forces that persist without accountability. So it's one part to elucidate the problems that come from that. The many sequelae of extraction include inadequate remaining resources to develop as a state, to do all the things that people want to do for themselves. Provide education, provide health care. So I wonder, as we think just as two citizens of the world committed to a better humanity, where do we go from here? Do you have any practical ideas about where we might start? Or collective ideas that we might gain support for?
I feel Africa, patriotism is very important. You have to love your country to want your country to be a better place. Patriotism, I think we have to have that sense of patriotism in our countries, and our leaders also should be subjected to that. You know, it is not only when you were talking about election and then everybody come out and celebrate, and after election, that's it. Accountability. Who accounts for what is happening? Who is the one who is changing the narrative of what is happening? Like I said, as a First Lady, I am not part of a government system. I am a wife of a president. So when I speak on behalf of the people, because I understand what the people are going through. At the end of the day, I'm not being paid salary, and I cannot be fired either. So that's the advantage. That's the advantage of being a First Lady.
Oh my God. I love this lady. My goodness.
But I believe that for Africa, what is happening in Africa today, it needs to change, and it needs to change now. There is no time like now, because for Sierra Leone, we now have a president who believes that we cannot wait for other people to come and develop us. We cannot wait for another country to come and prescribe how our country should be run or what we need in our country. You know, this divide and rule, if you're close to China, we will not come to your country. If you're close to America, we will not come to your country. I mean, the fight that is between England, Europe, America, China, Russia is not a Sierra Leone fight. That's not our problem. We're fighting for our daily bread. We're looking to have education, just like America. We're looking to have good health facility. Just like Europe, we're looking to have governance structure where one single person cannot be the dictator of a nation. That's what we're looking for. And in that process, we are going to be allies to everybody who wants us to grow. But if we now align ourselves with someone, and then this other person now feel offended that, oh, you know, I'm coming from China now. I flew in, I've gone around the world to get to Boston, you know. I went to China and then come here. Before here, I went to England and then flew into America. For me, I'm not restricted where I should go or who I should be talking to. I am going around the world to see a country that sees Africa not as not just as an ally of what you'll be getting from us, but a country that sees Sierra Leone as partners and treat us with respect. You cannot be coming to our country and take everything that will make us develop, and then you still treat us as inferior people, as if we don't know what we're doing. I think that is wrong. You know, we're looking for partners that value us. People that will come to our country and say, you know what, this country has suffered enough, they need to grow. We were once the atom of Africa. Every country within sub-Saharan Africa used to come to Sierra Leone for our education. And today, what can we be proud of? We cannot talk about education in Sierra Leone because they've ruined that for us.
So let's pause here and reflect on that for a moment. And if you haven't already, I want you to take a look at the episode I did on Mansa Musa, where we revisit history to see how rich Africa was at one point in time. How the Mali Empire, which is modern day Sierra Leone, by the way, and a few other countries, literally ruled the world in commerce, learning, architecture, and so much more. Sierra Leone earned the moniker the Athens of West Africa due to its role as the leading center of learning in colonial West Africa. But now, this country is facing a learning crisis with a high percentage of children unable to read and write. How did we get here?
Everything that has empowered Sierra Leone has been ruined. And now we have a leader who wants to fix everything. There is a problem. In Africa, you should not have a leader that is assertive, a leader that knows what his people want, a leader that wants to change what is happening. The moment you have that, it's everyone's target.
So do you guys agree with that sentiment? That the minute a leader rises up who wants to change the system, they become a target? I mean, we don't need to look too far to see examples of this, right? Who are some of these leaders that you think were targeted?
And then they find reason to slow you down, they find reason to stop you, and they use that system of corruption. They use corrupt people, they use negative people, they use unpatriotic citizens to come after a government who is doing what is right for a system. I think we need to address those issues. Unfortunately, I don't know I'm very good at name calling, but at the moment, I don't know who I should be screaming at.
Who's addressed in Hands Off Our Girls? That instruction is given to who?
The Hands Off Our Girls is for everyone. When I say everyone, when I became the First Lady in 2018, the state of our country was disgraceful. It was disgusting. I mean, babies as young as 6 months were being raped by men. Yes. And that's the reality. So there was no one out there to actually say it as it is. There is no one out there to say, no, we've had enough. And every time there's this excuse to say, oh, it was because of the war. Our war had finished 20 years ago. We cannot live in a war mentality after 20 years.
Do you agree with that? Do African nations sometimes dwell on the past too much? Do we tend to use war and colonization as an excuse, maybe? Too much?
I am very unapologetic when it comes to the Hands Off Our Girls campaign. I will call your name. I don't care your status. I don't care who you are. I would name and shame you and let the whole country know you're one of them. And what we have done through the Hands Off Our Girls, I'm not saying it's amazing, but it has changed the way people think and the way people behave. And a behavioral change is one of the most difficult things for every society. But with the Hands Off Our Girls campaign, the perpetrators know the person who is at the front of that campaign is not joking.
Now, this segment coming up, I love so much because the First Lady challenges long-standing ideologies and cultural norms about the role of women in Africa. Let's listen.
Is there something that we could do from citizen to citizen that might help change these dynamics?
Well, I think, respect for one another is very important. And the love for one another and compassion for one another is very important. That is what we have lacked for a very long time in a place like Sierra Leone. And again, whenever you bring up such conversation, they will try to make reference to the war. I don't think respecting a woman, you need 20 years to understand that a woman deserves to be respected. I don't think so. I just believe it's a macho thing. It's where men feel like they are just superior and women are inferior beings, and that we have to be silenced, that they could do whatever they want to do and get away with it because there's no one to ask them why. I think that's what has gone on for far too long in Sierra Leone. And with the advent of the Hands Off Our Girls campaign, they see it as having a direct confrontation with them. And of course, when you fight evil, evil try to fight back. And we've been pushing. We go 10 steps forward, they push 2 steps back, we move them 15 steps forward. And that's what we've been doing in the last 5 years to now. They have realized that this is not going away. So the best they've started doing is comply and know that we are not joking. This is not a political issue. This is a national issue. Our children are being endangered. Our women are being bullied. Our women are being degraded. And we have 52% of our population who are women. And if you now push 52% of your population in the kitchen, definitely it's like asking Muhammad Ali to do boxing with one hand. He will not succeed.
Ooh, my goodness. My goodness. Can we rewind that? 52% of the population is women and you want to keep them in the kitchen? How can the nation succeed?
Everybody had to contribute in nation building. If we want our country to be developed, the women and men had to work as partners. We have to be seated on the same table and make decisions together. Men don't know what are women's problems. It is only the women who knows our problem. And if we're not there when they make those decisions, they will make a decision that fits their ego, not in our favor.
That's a powerful sentiment. And I think some of the landmark changes brought about by Hands Off Our Girls include reform of the judiciary, reform of laws, advancing training, appropriate training for medical personnel. I wonder, do you see any parallels at the international level? It's like, is there a way that we could reform the UN for greater accountability in the same ways?
The United Nations is the United Nation. I don't know how united it is. So
I think that's a good answer. Yeah. Yeah.
In the United Nations, it's the powerful and most powerful who survive. That's my take. For a country like Sierra Leone, well, this is where, naturally I will not say anything. I will just let it go.
You're
because,
fine.
You're
fine.
I don't want to say something that they will keep forever and say, but you said this about the United Nations. But I think the United Nations needs a huge reform.
Yeah.
And when the United Nations should be speaking for the world. Yeah. But it's like the United Nations is an institution that I don't know who is actually the head of United Nations.
So I know this is in a difficult spot for you, and I'll just say it for myself as a citizen. Like, the United Nations and their specialized agencies, they all have governance structures that privilege some nations over others. I think we should be able to talk about that openly, and then we can talk about what to do about it. So in the United Nations in New York, there's the Security Council. Those are allies of the Second World War. Like, everybody should know this. Everyone should be able to say this. And everyone should be able to say that the time of that is over. We need to think about how to make governance more democratic.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Thank you. See, that's why allies are important, right? We need y'all, allies. You matter. Thank you.
One of the most serious issues I have with the United Nations is the fact that Africa is not part of the Security Council. We're talking about 54 countries, I'm sorry. 54 countries, a whole continent does not have one person representing Africa when it comes to decision making at the Security Council.
And I'd observe also that no African country has its own executive director at the World Bank either.
No, unfortunately,
Yes.
we don't know how to manage money.
So for context here, right? Nearly 80 years after the establishment of the United Nations, Africa has yet to be granted a permanent seat on its most powerful organ, the Security Council. So basically, the continent has no voice in international affairs. And I should add that Africa is the only continent without permanent representation on the council. despite comprising 54 UN member states and over 1 billion people. Why?
What do you want me to say? Because if that is the perception since the beginning of, every time an African come forward for something, that they have to be a decision maker for the world, not just Africa. It's just not possible.
I understand.
So what can I say? There must be a prescription somewhere that says, Africa, you are not good enough.
Well, it might be revolutionary, but I'm going to say it right here. Africans should be in charge of Africa.
I believe that also that Africans' issue can only be enhanced when Africans decide to do that. They should not allow another person to give them a prescription of how Africa should look like or what we need in our Africa, because we know what we need in our Africa. No one will know that better than us. And I think the UN should see Africa as partners. And the United Nations, definitely, you cannot have 7-country vetoing everything. When it comes to Africa issue, it is those 7 countries. Who are the countries that are actually exploiting Africa? They're the ones who have the veto power to make decision on anything that has to do with Africa. So for me, I think that is wrong.
Now, the UN Security Council has 15 members, but only 5 of them are permanent and possess the power to veto any substantive resolution. Who are those countries? China, France, Russia, the United Kingdom, and the United States. Any one of these 5 countries can block a resolution, even if it has overwhelming support from the other 14 members. Again, back to the question, why is Africa the only continent not represented?
And that is one thing the president of Sierra Leone has campaigned for. And this year, Sierra Leone is now a non-permanent member at the United Nations. But yet still, we don't have a veto power. But we're there. At least we are getting closer. And in these 2 years, our mission is to get the United Nations to see Africa not as one country. Because that's the mistake they do. When you say I'm from Africa, they say, oh, you're from Nigeria. I said, no, Nigeria is one country in Africa. We have 54 countries in Africa. So see us as a continent that also, what we offer to the world, Europe does not have it. What Africa gives to the world, Europe don't have it, America don't have it, Asia don't have it. Because we are not mining in China, we are not doing any mining in America or mining in Europe. But they're doing it in every part of Africa. Not just Sierra Leone, go to Democratic Republic of Congo, go to Botswana, go to Angola, go everywhere there is mineral resources. It is the West and the Chinese who are there.
I think we need to work toward a future where those industries migrate toward the sources of production. So like you could imagine a chocolate industry that's not in Switzerland or Belgium, but it's in Ghana.
Yes.
You could imagine, yes, the most famous jewelry stores in the world might be in Cote d'Ivoire. They might
Sierra
be in,
Leone. We have the best diamonds.
They might be in Sierra Leone.
But guess what? We have the best diamonds in the world, but they call our diamond blood diamond. Well, I've never seen a red diamond, because if it's blood diamond, it should be red. We have the best diamonds in the world. So I don't know, what do we have in America? I'm just checking, so I told you I came here to learn also.
Yeah.
Come on, you can't just be asking me. You give me some information to take home.
Of course, I'll be happy to tell you things. The U.S. makes, we have good beef here.
Beef?
Yeah.
Have you tested our cows?
We make computer chips. We've developed the internet. I mean, there's lots of innovation. I think normal exchange is normal. People learn from each other. They share products. There's a kind of very normal type of globalization where people have learned from each other. The extractive kind is what we need to move beyond. My aspirations, as I was mentioning to you, is that maybe we could imagine a world where the minerals that are extracted get refined, get processed into consumer products at the sources?
Well, first of all, for that to happen, you have to have energy. Now check how many countries actually have energy. And who gives energy?
I understand it's complex. You know, it's true, it's complex, it's very difficult. I just don't want to give up on it. At the end of the day, like, we're all people. There should be something that good people can do. There should be at least one thing that good people can do, no matter where they are, no matter what their position is. There should be at least one thing. And I'm trying to find out, what would it be? What would we recommend to today's people? What should they do? We've identified many problems, from the governance of the UN, the extraction of natural resources, the power of the patriarchy. Do you have any ideas? What should somebody do tomorrow? What would we recommend to the students at our school or the people on the streets?
I think people who, let me speak for Africa. When you come to Africa, ask me what is it that I want. If you ask me what food do you want to eat, I'll tell you I want to eat rice. But then if you come to Africa and bring me spaghetti and said, I want you to eat spaghetti, that you're imposing on me. With everything that we have in Africa, for all the people or all the organizations or all the companies that are coming to take from us, for once, see us as partners. For once, treat us with respect. And then help us develop. Because when we're developed, doesn't mean you will not do your mining. It just means you'll be changing lives, and changing lives in a positive way. So by depriving us that development, by depriving us that opportunity for us to be able to be self-sufficient, for me, that is what is wrong. And that is why I am not able to stay silent.
I salute that.
So there you have it, my people. Now, as always, I turn it over to you. What did you think about her perspectives? Is there anything she said that surprised you or got you thinking, what do you think about this First Lady? Do you have any solutions for how we should address some of the things she brought up? I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, could you please share it with a few people? Let's grow this channel and keep having these important conversations. Because, guys, Africa's future is in our hands. We are shaping it right now. Thanks for joining me. Until next time, take care.